So, have you ever really stopped to think about what it takes to run a massive website or a global app? Traditionally, it meant buying and maintaining these huge rooms filled with expensive physical servers. But what if you could just rent all that digital foundation instead? Well, that's the whole idea behind infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. And today, we're going to break it all down. And this quote from Anunta, it just nails the problem perfectly. For decades, if you wanted to build a business online, you also had to become a hardware expert. It was this massive upfront cost, a constant headache to maintain, and trying to scale up for something like a big sale, oh man, it was an absolute nightmare. So this is the big question that IaaS swoops in to answer. Just imagine having all the power of a massive data center, all the servers, the storage, the networking, just available on demand whenever you need it. And the best part? You only pay for what you actually use. This fundamental shift from owning to renting is what changes the entire game. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to kick things off with the old way of doing things, then we'll check out the different services on the cloud menu. After that, we'll do a deep dive into IaaS itself, see how some major companies are using it, and wrap it all up with the big picture takeaway. Okay, so let's start with the problem itself. When you own physical hardware, you are on the hook for absolutely everything. Buying it, finding a place for it, keeping it cool, securing it, and then replacing it when it inevitably breaks or just gets old. It's a huge hit to your bank account up front and, honestly, a major distraction from what you're actually trying to build.
The solution to this whole hardware mess is, of course, the cloud. But here's the thing. The cloud isn't just one single thing. It's really more like a menu of services. And it's super important to understand exactly where IaaS fits on that menu.
Okay, I know, that official definition from NIST can sound a little dense, a bit academic, right? But the key phrases you want to lock onto are on demand, shared pool, and rapidly provisioned. In simple terms, it's all about getting computer resources over the internet super quickly and efficiently, without having to build the physical system yourself. Now, to really get IaaS, it helps to see how it compares to the others. My favorite analogy for this is pizza. Seriously, software as a service, or SaaS, is like just ordering a finished pizza. It arrives, you eat it. You just use the software. Platform as a service, or PaaS, is like getting one of those take-and-bake pizzas. They give you the crust and sauce, you add your own toppings, you build your app on their platform. Then there's IaaS. That's like renting the entire commercial kitchen. You get the oven, the flour, the ingredients. You can make whatever you want from scratch. With IaaS, you manage the most, and that gives you the most control and flexibility. So let's zoom in on that foundational layer, IaaS. This is the stuff that powers literally everything else in the cloud. It's the bedrock. And here's the most important part to get. With IaaS, a provider like Amazon or Microsoft, they handle all of the physical gear, all of it. You, the customer, get to access and control virtual versions of all those resources right over the internet. You can think of it like taking one giant, powerful physical server and digitally slicing it into a bunch of smaller, independent virtual servers that you can use as if they were your own. And this right here, this is why the business world loves it. Owning means a massive upfront cost, and you often end up paying for a bunch of power you don't even use most of the time. Renting with IaaS completely flips that on its head. It's an operating expense. You can scale up or down instantly, and you only pay for the resources you actually consume. It's a game changer. So what are you actually renting? Well, here are the basic building blocks. You're getting virtual servers, or VMs, different kinds of storage for files or huge databases, virtual networking tools to connect it all securely, and so much more. These are like the digital Lego bricks you get to use to build whatever you can dream up. And make no mistake, this is not some niche little technology. The IaaS market is dominated by absolute giants. We're talking Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. This is a mature, super reliable, and incredibly competitive industry. Okay, that's enough of the theory. How are real companies actually using this stuff out in the wild? Let's take a look at some really cool examples. Well, IaaS is basically perfect for solving some of the biggest headaches in IT. Think about disaster recovery. It's way cheaper and more reliable to have your backups in the cloud. Or for developers, you can spin up a temporary test environment in minutes instead of waiting weeks for new hardware. Got a website with huge traffic spikes? IaaS scales automatically. And for crunching huge amounts of data, that on-demand computing power is absolutely essential. All right, let's get specific. Take a look at GE Healthcare. They use Amazon Web Services to power their health cloud. Now get this, they are managing a petabyte, that's 1,000,000 gigabytes, of critical medical imaging data. Can you even imagine trying to build and manage the physical infrastructure for that on your own? The complexity and cost would be just astronomical. And here's a totally different but just as powerful example. Coca-Cola Amatil uses IBM's cloud for their customer management system. Because it's a pay-as-you-go model, they can instantly scale up their computer power to handle the holiday rush, and then scale it right back down when things get quiet. They only pay for that extra power when they actually need it, no waste. So, we've seen what IaaS is and how it's being used. Now let's just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture takeaway and maybe a little peek at where all of this is heading. Now, it's important to add a little bit of nuance here. IaaS runs in a virtualized environment, which is perfect for most things. But for some really intense tasks that need every last drop of raw computing performance, some companies still go for what's called bare metal servers. That's basically a dedicated physical machine just for you with no virtualization layer. You get maximum power, but you trade away some of that on-demand flexibility. You know, this slide puts it all into perspective so well. In the past, it was all about owning and managing your own data centers. Today, in the present, it's about renting virtual infrastructure with IaaS. And the future? Well, that's heading toward an even greater level of abstraction called serverless computing, where you don't even have to think about servers at all. You just run your code. And this right here, this is probably the most important takeaway of all. The actual role of an IT department is fundamentally changing before our very eyes. It's no longer about racking servers and managing cooling systems. It's about becoming a strategic partner to the business, managing applications, making sure everything's secure, and optimizing how much you're spending in the cloud. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. IaaS proved that for digital infrastructure, renting is way more efficient than owning. That's a massive shift in thinking, right? So the question is, what other core parts of building a business, things we always thought you had to own, will be the next to move to this flexible, on-demand rental model?